A pleasant day, everyone. I am Rodelina Tado, together with my buddy, Nasra Manguda, and we are your reporters today. We are glad to announce everyone that we are now in Chapter 5 with the main topic of Affective Learning Competencies. So we have the section Learning Intended Outcome. At the outset of this section, you are expected to be able to develop instruments for assessing affective learning. And we have a chapter learning outcome. At the end of this chapter, you should be able to craft affective learning outcome for the different levels in the affective domain. It is not difficult for us to understand what affective is all about because we already encountered this in our lesson planning. It includes objectives, and to be able to compose objectives, you have to consider the three domains. We have the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. But now we only focus on affective. So in this chapter, the importance of affective targets, affective traits, and learning targets, as well as affective domain of the taxonomy of educational objectives will be discussed. What is affect? Affect describe a number of non-cognitive variables such as person's attitudes, interest, and values. Student affect is important, and we teacher can help them acquire positive attitude in a way of assessing their affect. Why is it important to assess the affect? According to William James Buffam, there are three reasons why. So first, educators should be interested in assessing variables because these variables are excellent predictors of students' future behavior. The second one, teachers should assess affect to remind themselves that there's more to being a successful teacher than helping students obtain high scores on achieving tests. It indicates that everyone wants to become a successful teacher, right? And to achieve that goal, you should be reminded that helping your students to have an excellent academic performance or to obtain a higher score on a test is not the only basis to call yourself a successful teacher, because there's other than that, which is to assess their interest, your students' values, and their attitudes. And number three, information regarding students' affect can help teachers teach more effectively on a day-to-day basis. Let's moving on to the importance of affective targets. Knowledge of our students' affective characteristic leads to more target instruction and successful learning experiences for students because students are able to focus on affective development in concern with cognitive development. They are more likely to be successful. Researchers have established the clear link between affect and cognitive learning. Students are more proficient in problem solving if they enjoy what they do. And students who are in a good mood and emotionally involved are more likely to pay attention to information, remember it meaningfully, and apply it. Then, too much anxiety, obstruct learning, and greater motivation is necessary for maximum performance. And a more positive environment fosters good student engagement and learning than in a classroom with negative climate. And that is according to Fraser in 1994. Now, though the linkage of affect and learning of students have been well established, there remains very little systematic assessment of affect that is applied in classroom instruction. Motivation and involvement of students in learning activities are affected by students' attitude toward learning, respect for others, and concern for others. Positive affective traits and skills are essential for effective learning, being an involved and productive member of society, preparing for occupational or vocational satisfaction and productivity, maximizing the motivation to learn at present and in the future, and preventing students from dropping out of school. So let's discuss them one by one. First is effective learning. The term effective learning describes method of teaching and learning that actively involve children in their own learning and personal development. Think of it as children learning how to learn rather than simply parroting information or copying techniques from teachers or other children. The second one is being an involved and productive member of society. Children should actively involve in cultural functions, essay writing competition, speech delivery on behalf of the masses from very early age. This do not only boost self-confidence but also brings out the hidden potential present unnoticed in the very core of children. The third one is preparing for occupational or vocational satisfaction and productivity. Productivity in any field depends very little on our education system. Productivity follows spontaneously. One who is passionate enough to work spontaneously without feeling burdened by parents, society, situation, and responsibility will surely influence the society beneficially, leading to the upliftment of our society. The fourth one is maximizing the motivation to learn at present and in the future. So number one, you have to promote growth mindset over fixed mindset. So number two, develop meaningful and respectful relationship with your students. Number three, grow a community of learners in your classroom. Number four, establish high expectations and establish clear goals. And number five, be inspirational to your students. So that is an important thing to do. Lastly, the positive affective traits and skills are essential for preventing students from dropping out of school. Factors are because they are unmotivated, family problem, or they failed the subject or got a low grade. And as a teacher, in order for us to prevent them from dropping, it is essential to communicate your student. Talk to them about career realities, be supportive and involved, and don't pressure them to do too much, and don't compare them to other students. Now, what are affective learning targets? The affective domain describes the way people react emotionally and their ability to feel another living thing's pain or joy. Affective objectives typically target the awareness and growth in attitudes, emotion, and feelings. Affective traits and learning targets, according to Han, affective refers to a variety of traits and dispositions that are different from knowledge, reasoning, and skills. Technically, this term means the emotions or feelings that one has toward to someone or something. Some way, attitudes, values, self-concept, citizenship, and other traits are usually considered to be non-cognitive. Include more than emotions or feelings. Most kinds of students affect involves both emotion and cognitive belief. Now, inside the table are the different affective traits and its corresponding description. We have attitude. Attitude is the predispositions to respond favorably or unfavorably to specified situation, concept, object, institutions, or person. And we have interest. It is your personal preference. Interest is personal reference for a certain kind of activities. Values, it is values, importance, worth, or usefulness of modes or conduct and states of existence. And we have opinion, belief about specific occurrences and situations. While preferences, desire to select an object over another. Now, motivation, it is your desire or the student's desire and willingness to be engaged in behavior, including intensity of involvement. Self-esteem is the attitudes toward oneself, degree of its self-respect, worth in a or desirability of a self-concept. And we have locus of control, it is self-perceptions of whether success and failure is controlled by the students or by external influences. Emotional development, growth, change, and awareness of emotions and ability to regulate emotional expression. Social relationship, nature of interpersonal interaction and functioning in a group setting. We have altruism, willingness, and propensity to help others, while moral development is the attainment of ethical principles that guide decision making and behavior. Classroom development, nature of feeling tones and interpersonal relationship in a class. Now, these traits have been studied and found out to be contributory factors in student learning. Now, let us move on to attitude target. According to Macmillan, attitude is an internal state that influence what students are likely to do. Internal states can in some one degree determine the positive or negative or favorable or unfavorable reaction to one object, situation, person, or group of person. Let me remind you that attitude does not refer to behaviors what a student knows right or wrong in a moral or an ethical sense, because in a learning institution, attitude is contingent on subject, teachers, other students, homework, and other objects or persons. Some of these attitudes are listed in the table. We have positive attitude toward learning, math, science, English, and other subjects, assignments, classroom rules, and teachers. And we have a negative attitude toward cheating, drug use, bullying, cutting classes, and dropping out of school. Researches conducted by a social psychologist, they found out that attitude consists of three components or contributing factors. Number one, we have affective components of positive or a negative feeling. The second one, we have cognitive components describing a worth or a value. And the third one, we have a behavioral components indicating a willingness or desire to engage in a particular action. The affective components consist of the emotions or feelings as associated with an object or a person. When you describe a student as liking English or enjoying music, then you are focusing on the affective component. On the other hand, cognitive component is shown when students can think history is useless and science is valuable. The behavioral component is actually responding in a positive way. A strong and stable attitude is manifested when all three components are consistent, which means that if a student likes science and a student think it is valuable and read science related materials at home, it indicates that the students have a very strong positive attitude. Next to discuss is a value target. Value is refers to and state of existence or to mode of conduct that are desirable or so. And a state of existence is the conditions and aspect of oneself and the kind of a world that a person wants, such as a safe life, world peace, freedom, happiness, social acceptance, and wisdom. Macmillan suggested that in setting a value target, it is necessary to stick to non-controversial and those that are clearly related to academic learning and school and the Department of Education goals. Some values that are commendable and non-controversial are described in that table. So we have values and sample value targets. First is honesty. Students should learn to value honesty in their dealing with others. Second is integrity. Students should firmly observe their own code of values. Then justice. Students should support the view that all citizens should be in the recipient of equal justice from government law enforcement agencies. And lastly, we have freedom. Students should believe that democratic countries must provide the maximum level of freedom to their citizens. Another example of non-controversial values are kindness, generosity, perseverance, loyalty, respect, courage, compassion, and tolerance. Macmillan and Pufam believe that there should be a limit to the number of effective traits targeted and assessed. It is better to do an excellent job assessing a few important traits than to try to assess as many traits casually. This is the end of my report. I'll give the next exposure to Miss Manguda to discuss those remaining topics. Once again, this is Rodelina Tado. Thank you for watching.